let's talk a little bit about some of the things, the number of units, the seasons of use, some of the acres we covered, and then what are some of the things that, we found very successful with autonomous tillage, but then what were some of the things that we learned? Were some hoops that needed to be jumped through, or maybe a hurdle we encountered? Let's talk a little bit about our firsthand experience with autonomous tillage.
Yeah, so I think number one, it's come a long ways. As Tony mentioned, we're 2 years in, so 4 tillage seasons. Last year, 24, it was all deer pilot units. So the customers signed up and just a tractor tillage tool. They had to put acres on it. This year now in 25, we've gone to customer units. So we found customers that were interested in autonomy and willing to put the puck on their machine to try and demo this and get acres on, also on their tillage tool. And that is how we ran in 2025. We had 4 customers this spring, and then we added another 3 customers this fall. So a total of 7 running this fall. The highlights, I mean, if you look, we ended up covering 13,000 acres this year autonomously, which was a really big win. Again, getting 7 autonomous customers signed up to run this, all of that, I mean, was a huge success. But if you would rewind to 2024, I would have never told you we'd have had 7 guys signed up for this year. The machine uptime was very low. It stopped for a lot of different things that maybe we thought it shouldn't, but that all was part of the learning process to get to where we are now. And the exponential growth that happened in just from 24 spring to fall of 25. I mean, if we can see that again next year, I mean, it's just going to continue to improve, and the satisfaction of the customers is just going to continue to improve as well.
Yeah, and that I know one of the things that John Deere continues to say about these advanced technologies that's coming out, the autonomous tillage, the see and spray, things like that, is, the way it operates today is the worst it's going to operate in the time you own it, because it's going to continue to learn and it's going to continue to get better. And we've experienced that with the 2 years of autonomous tillage and what we've done with the customers and how the system has changed. What were some of the biggest learning opportunities, or some of the things that we really had to say, okay, this is a key factor in autonomous tillage. We just need to know this going forward?
I think probably how we mapped boundaries was a big one. So again, if we go back to boundaries have to be driven, whether it be with the tractor, whether it be with a gator, with the 75 or with the 7,000 or 7,500 universal. And the reason they're driven is just GPS accuracy is only so great or satellite, excuse me, not GPS, is only so accurate. So if we drive it, we know that you didn't run anything over a fence post. So it just gives another level of confidence with that driven boundary. But year one, we made the boundaries as perfect as we could. Well, autonomy wasn't perfect yet. So getting rid of irregular shapes, maybe some of the impassable boundaries, maybe we needed to make them non-passable, and just how do we manage those fields just for autonomy? Right now, autonomy is great in a nice big square field. We know that's not every case. So the rule of thumb is if it's like less than 4 passes, probably just chop that off on the boundary and clean that up when you're doing headlands or whatever, just doing some touch up in the field. Because again, the autonomy is going to run best on a fairly square field. So boundaries were a big one, and continue to be. And I think, again, those will only continue to get better as well.
Now, a lot of people, we kind of get this idea in our head of autonomous tillage and who it's for, who it's not for, all of that type of stuff. We've all got our own ideas. I want to talk about some of the questions, the concerns, the feedback that we receive from both customers interested in autonomous tillage, but then also customers that believe they would never have autonomous tillage on their farm. And the first one that I want to talk about is, autonomous tillage is only for the big guys, or autonomous tillage is only for the little guy that can't find labor. Let's talk a little bit about, from our experience and what we've seen, and some of the wins that both or any size farm can receive from autonomous tillage. So Tell us a little bit about that and where we see autonomous tillage fitting in terms of farm size scaling.
Sure. Yeah. And I would agree with you right away. It's like, oh, you got to farm 10,000 acres to make autonomous tillage work. I don't believe that the case. A lot of times those farms, like, again, everyone goes to labor right away. If I have autonomous tillage, I didn't get rid of labor or I don't have the labor. So that's where it always goes. But a lot of times those larger farms have the labor. They're able to keep them on maybe year round. It's easier to find labor for them. Uh, Also depends on where you live. If you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, maybe labor is very hard, but you only farm 2,000 acres. Well, you could maybe run it all day long, but at the end of the day, if you want to go home at 5, 6 o'clock, maybe you can turn it loose. It runs for another few hours. It is capable of running at night. So it's got the lights on it. Maybe it runs for another 8 hours. Now you're ahead of schedule. So I don't really think autonomous tillage is I think it's a good and viable option for any size farm. I think it just depends on how you want to use it and maybe how it fits within your farm. And I know you mentioned winds as well, and I think this maybe should have been talked about in the last piece, but the runtime and where we've gone with runtime. We this fall we had roughly 70 days that the 7 tractors were all in the field at some point. And almost half of those days we saw with 5+ hours of runtime. Now that might not be completely continuous runtime, but then we had a few days that were over 12% or 12 hours of runtime. So you're starting to chew up some ground at that point.